Hey guys, and welcome to the Crafty Maker. Today we're going to be making a Nanoleaf panel. Alright, let's get to it. So I start by using a miter saw which has an angle set to 30 degrees and a stop clamped at the 4-inch mark. This is so I can make multiples easily instead of having to measure each piece before the cut. Now using the router we cut a groove for the underside so the cables can run through later when adding the LEDs. To create the slot for the acrylic panel to fit into later, we used the table saw by lowering the blade for a shallow cut and passing the wood over the blade twice for the perfect fit. Once the slots were cut, it was time to sand down the top faces and side faces. To sand the tops, I taped the pieces together, then clamped all the taped rows to make a bigger sanding area, this making it easier and quicker for me. I decided to paint the wood black as I thought it would add definition to the panel to make it more interesting when the LEDs were off, as well as create a nice background for the LEDs to project off when being used. To get the cut-in lines for the acrylic tile, I placed a taped up hexagon on the sheet and drew around the inner and outer sides. I then used my ruler to measure from each inner corner outwards by ½ centimeter. This then gave me my cutting line, which I joined up the dots to make more visible for cutting. Once you have your first tile cut out, it's a simple draw around the master for however many you need. To cut the acrylic, we used a jigsaw which had been attached upside down to the bench to create a makeshift bandsaw, to which we carefully used to cut out all the tiles we needed. After the first layer of paint had dried, I'd sanded down and scraped any bumps off the outer and top faces to prep it for the second coat. I also used a damp cloth to clean any dust off the surfaces so when applying the next coat it was ready to go. I wanted to create a quick mock-up, so to do this I took 6 pieces and then laid masking tape over the back. I then flipped over the pieces and friction fitted the acrylic into the wood and then created the shape by rolling the wood around the tile. Once I got my mock-up done, I noticed a few gaps in the joints, however these would be filled in when painting, so it was nothing major to worry about. Using the same method for the mock-up, it was time for the glue-up. I took the protective film of the acrylic, I applied the glue to the joints of the wood and then rolled the wood around the tile where it was finally stuck together forever. I also used my finger to clean any glue squeeze out from the inside of the hexagon. As you can see, I added masking tape to the front faces ready for the second coat of paint. I also decided to create one large panel in the shape of a H. I did already try the nut and bolt method off camera with 3 panels as I wanted to make sure it was strong enough to hold the weight. To join the mini panels together, I simply aligned one panel to where I wanted it. I then used a drill to create the hole which was big enough for the bolt to fit through. I then used a smaller drill bit to poke through that hole to mark the other piece so I knew where to drill the corresponding side. Now for what we've all been waiting for, it's LED time. I just wanted to point out one thing I did wrong for this project, which was I had pre-cut the LED strips before actually adding them to the finished panel. This meant my wiring and LEDs overlapped slightly. It was a bit untidy, but it was still manageable. I also left the LEDs on while doing this, as I wanted to make sure that when moving them around and adding them to the panel, I didn't lose a connection. The connectors I used for this project made the wiring very easy, as there was no soldering required whatsoever, so anyone of any skill level could make these panels for themselves. I used hot glue to stick the connectors down to the wood so that when it was moved or hung up, the cables were hidden behind the actual panel itself, and I also wanted to make sure that there was less strain on the cables when hung. Then the final step of this project was to apply the second coat of paint to the complete panel, making sure that the power cable had been unplugged and then leaving it to dry overnight. So a few things I would change if I was to do this project again is basically I would plan a bit better. I would decide on what shape I wanted first, so then I could work out where the holes would be for the wiring on the inside, so you wouldn't see any around the outside. I also would put a backing board on it, so then it's got a bit more structure, the light doesn't bleed out the back like it's currently doing now, and also the cables and the LEDs are secured inside the panel, so there's no chances of them getting damaged. I also think I would change from just buying a normal LED strip and go for the individually addressable LEDs. So then I could program each panel to react differently to sound and music, so it's displayed completely different colors, which would be awesome. But overall, this project turned out to be fun and amazing. I've loved watching every step of this being made. Just watching it being made is giving me butterflies. I couldn't wait for the finished product. So if you guys do plan to make your own Nanoleaf panel, please do share it with me. I'll leave the materials down below, and I'd love to see your take on this project. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye!